Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today I'm going to be going over the fastest vehicle in each class in Grand Theft Auto Online for circuit racing on Xbox One, PS4, PC or last gen, as well as the current generation, which includes the expanded and enhanced edition and therefore HSW. So anyway guys, let's go ahead and get started with the open wheel class. For both last generation and current gen, the Benefactor BR8 is the best open wheel car to use for races. It is the fastest, it has the best acceleration, the best top speed, and the best handling. Now depending on the upgrades, you can change all of these things, but generally the BR8 is the best in the class. So if you guys are doing open wheel races, you're going to want to buy a Benefactor BR8. It's going to run you $3,400,000. Next up for the Vans class, for both last generation and current generation, the Bravado Rumpo Custom is the best van to use in the Vans category. Not that you're ever going to really do a Vans race, but just in case you needed to know, the Rumpo Custom is by far the best. It has like a 10-second advantage on each track compared to most of the other cars, unless the track is obviously really short, but generally the Rumpo Custom is the best van to use by a long shot. Next up for the utility class, for both last generation as well as current generation, the Vapid Saddler is the best vehicle to use in the utility class. It is to the utility class what the Rumpo Custom is to the Vans class. This thing absolutely dominates the utility class. Not that you're ever going to do utility class races either, but the Vapid Saddler is the best one to use for these races. It is the best acceleration, best top speed, and best handling of all of the utility vehicles in the game. Next up for the tuners subcategory, we have the Karen Calico GTF for top speed tracks. However, generally I think in most cases, I'd say about 90% of cases, the Emperor Vector is the best car to use in the Tuners subclass. Now if you're confused what I mean by the Tuners subclass, these are vehicles that got released with the Tuners DLC back in the summer of 2021 and are usable in the LS Car Meet Tuners races. So the Emperor Vector is by far the best, I think, for most circuits. I think there's one circuit within the tuners class that the Karen Calico GTF is actually like decently usable for, but still it lacks the handling ability, so anytime there's a corner you're going to lose pretty much all the speed that you gained on the straightaway. The Vector has great acceleration, great handling, and a pretty good top speed, as well as lots of different upgrades that you could do to it, lots of different customization. So it is a fun car to use in free mode as well, and it sounds fantastic. Next up for the Coupes category, we're finally getting to some more relevant categories. For last generation, the Karen Previon is by far the best car that you can use in the Coupes class. This thing absolutely dominates the class. However, on current generation consoles, the Ubermacht Sentinel XS with the HSW upgrade is actually a pretty good rival to the Karen Previon. However, despite its HSW upgrade, it's actually not all that much faster, so the Karen Previon might honestly be able to keep up with the Sentinel because the Previon does have better handling than the XS. However, the Sentinel XS has a much higher top speed than the Previon. So, both cars are pretty competitive. I would use either. See which one you like more if you're planning on doing Coupes races, and then go as follows. Next up for the off-road category, for last generation and current generation, if there is a restriction where you cannot use motorcycles, the Declasse Draugr is the absolute best off-road vehicle you can use in the game, followed by the Canis Camacho or the Maxwell Vagrant as far as four-wheeled vehicles go. However, if it is a non-restricted race, the Nagasaki BF400 motorcycle is absolutely dominant in the class. Nothing can keep up with this thing. So basically, if you're not allowed to use bikes, use the Declasse Draugr if you can. And if you are allowed to use bikes, always use the Nagasaki BF400. You will destroy everyone. Next up for the motorcycles class, the Nagasaki Shotaro is the best bike to use generally. It's very, very good on twistier circuits because it has great handling and pretty decent acceleration. However, it does lack a little bit of top speed, and that's where the Power Surge comes in. If the race has a bunch of straightaways, the Power Surge is the best bike to use because it has pretty good handling with the exception of some mild understeer that it can experience, but it does have a speed glitch, so straight line speed for this thing is really crazy. I think it tops out around 170 miles per hour. If you can get it going for that fast on a long enough straightaway, you're going to take off on the Shotaro for sure. So the Power Surge for longer straightaway circuits is the best. The Shotaro is much better for twistier circuits though. And on the current generation consoles, the Shitzu Hakuchu Drag HSW absolutely dominates the motorcycles category. It's actually the fastest land vehicle around a circuit in Grand Theft Auto Online. It even beats out things like the Vigilante and the Toreador with rocket boosters. it is crazy fast, has insane brakes, great acceleration, and a super high top speed as well. Overall, the Shih Tzu Hikuchi Drag is the best motorcycle to use on current generation consoles with the HSW upgrade. Next up for SUVs, on last generation we have the Pegassi Toros. This thing has absolutely fantastic acceleration, pretty decent handling, and an insanely high top speed for the SUV category, only beaten by the car that is the fastest on current generation consoles. So on last gen, the Pegassi Toros is the fastest SUV in a straight line, so that is pretty cool. It's very good, it's got lots of customization for free mode as well, and you can have it for less than $500,000, which is an absolute bargain price considering it's the fastest SUV in the entire game on last gen. However, if you guys are playing on current generation consoles, the Pfister Astron Custom with the HSW upgrade is by far the best SUV to use. I say by far, the Toros actually can keep up with the Astron Custom pretty well. However, the Astron Custom with the HSW will take off on the Toros at the top end because it's just so much faster. The Astron has really decent handling though too, and great acceleration obviously due to that HSW upgrade. It's also got some good ground clearance, and due to its wide body sort of stance, it does have pretty good handling, and the ability for it to roll over is pretty much zero. So it's actually a really awesome SUV. Definitely would recommend using that one. Next up for the compacts class, on last generation the BF Club absolutely dominates the category. There's nothing that can touch the BF Club. It does come at a cost, it's just under $1.3 million, but you do get a lot of customization if you want to use it in free mode and stuff like that, so that is cool. And you're going to absolutely dominate in compact class races. This thing is insanely good, definitely one to use. And on current generation consoles, the BF Club is still generally the best compact car to use in the game. However, for compact circuits that have long straightaways, the Grotti Brioso RA with the HSW upgrade is actually pretty good. It does have a pretty high top speed. However, its handling is still complete garbage because it's the Grotti Brioso RA and that's just how it rolls, I guess. So the BF Club could still be a very competitive car so long as the compact category track you are doing has a decent amount of corners. Even on straightaways, the BF Club is pretty quick, just not quite as quick as the Brioso RA with the HSW. Next up we have the sedans category. For both last generation and current generation, the Lampadati 5000 is the best car to use, followed by the Benefactor Shafter V12 for tracks with more straightaways. The Lampadati 5000 has absolutely phenomenal handling, great acceleration, and a decent top speed for the sedans category. Like I said, the Benefactor Shafter V12 is also a contender here. However, it's for tracks that have pretty much just straightaways because of its higher top speed, and it's only higher by a couple miles per hour, so it's not like you're going to really get anything crazy for using the Shafter over the 5000, especially on most tracks. I think the 5000 is going to be your best pick. Onto the muscle car category. On last generation, the Bravado Buffalo STX is the best car to use, followed by the Declassi Vigoro ZX. The Declassi Vigoro ZX though, without an HSW upgrade, is about 4 seconds off the pace of the Buffalo STX, so it's quite a lot slower per lap. However, it does have a very close top speed, but the STX tops out at 126 and the Vigoro tops out at 125, I believe. So the STX truly is the best muscle car to use on last gen. Great acceleration, decent top speed, as well as phenomenal handling in the STX. The Vigoro just can't quite keep up, I don't think. However, on the current generation consoles, the STX I think still is the best car for twistier muscle car circuits. I think most of the stunt race circuits in GTA are pretty twisty as far as the muscle car class goes. However, on the ones with longer straightaways, the Vigoro ZX with the HSW upgrade will absolutely destroy the STX. The Declassi Vigoro ZX HSW tops out at 157, which is 31 miles per hour faster than the top speed of the STX. So on muscle car tracks with straightaways, you're going to want to go with the Vigoro ZX because you are going to put the gap on an STX over time for sure. So that's it for the muscle category. On to sports classic. And on last generation for the sports classic category, we have the Grotti Turismo Classic, followed very closely by the Grotti Cheetah Classic as the next fastest sports classic car. However, the Turismo Classic really is just the best one to use. I wouldn't even bother using the Cheetah Classic. The Turismo is just better in pretty much every single way. And on the current generation consoles, the Grotti Turismo Classic HSW is the fastest car because they gave the fastest car in the class an HSW upgrade, so it's still the fastest car car in the class, go figure. And it's followed very closely by the benefactor Sterling GT with the HSW upgrade. The Sterling GT has a 5 mph higher top speed than the Grotti Turismo Classic, so it is technically better for circuits with long straightaways, and it still has pretty good handling. Overall, I would say that the Grotti Turismo Classic with the HSW upgrade is still the best sports classic to use on current gen though. But there is the case that you could make the Sterling GT just as fast, so long as there are enough straightaways to keep up with the Turismo Classic. Next up for the sports category, we have the Grotti Italia GTO on last generation, followed by the Ocelot Pariah and the Grotti Italia RSX. However, really, the Grotti Italia GTO is going to be the best car to use in most cases. Unless the track is purely top speed, then you will want to use the Ocelot Pariah, but most of the time you're going to want to use the Grotti Italia GTO on last generation. It's just the best car. It has fantastic acceleration, great handling, and a pretty decent top speed, as well as it has advanced handling flags that allow the car to gain additional speed whenever it goes over bumps. So the car is really fast in a straight line too. Overall, the Italia GTO is it's the best car to use on last gen for sports class races, bottom line. Now in current generation consoles as well, the Grotti Italia GTO is the best car to use in most cases. If the track has any sort of dirt on it or anything like that, as well as if the track is very twisty, the Italia GTO is going to absolutely dominate. You're not going to want to use the other car, which is a contender. The only time that you're going to want to use the Karin S95 HSW, which is the other car, is for heavy top speed tracks with long straightaways and not that many corners, because the Karin S95 is going to lose it in the corners for sure, especially compared to the GTO, but it does have a super high top speed with that HSW upgrade, so it is a pretty competitive car still. Basically, the rule is, if the track is twisty, use the Italia GTO. If the track has long straightaways and not that many corners, use the Karin S95 HSW. And finally, onto the supercars category. For last generation, the Progen Emirates is the best car to use, followed by the Benefactor Krieger and the Torero XO. Overall, the Emirates for skilled racers is going to be the best car to use. It has a pretty high top speed, pretty good acceleration, and pretty decent handling. It does have a pretty high downforce value, which definitely helps to get through some faster corners just a little bit quicker. It's also got some decent customization to make the car a little bit more suited for racing, so that is nice, of course. Overall, the Emirates is the best car to use on last generation. However, if you struggle to use the Emirates, the Benefactor Krieger is a good secondary option. It is all-wheel drive, and it has a bit of a quicker launch, as well as decent acceleration and a pretty good top speed. It's just not going to be able to carry as much speed through the corners as the Emirates because it doesn't have that much downforce, and it also is down on power compared to the Emirates a little bit. Still a very decent car. However, sometimes the new Pagani Torero XO is actually a viable car to use for racing in this game because it does have a pretty high top speed as well as all-wheel drive and pretty decent handling. However, for twisty circuits, the Torero is not a car you are going to want to use. It does have a broken spoiler, so it gets no downforce, which does completely suck. So you're only going to want to use this on races like Plummet and things like that that have a very long straightaway. However, on the current generation consoles, things are a little bit different. At the first fastest supercar in Grand Theft Auto Online, we have the weaponized Ignis with the HSW upgrade, followed by the Coil Cyclone 2 with the HSW upgrade, followed by the Progen Emirates. So the Progen Emirates is actually faster than the Devastate HSW, which is the 4th best supercar on the current gen consoles. Obviously, if it's a super high top speed, heavy track, then the Devastate is going to be better than the Emirates, but generally the Emirates has a little bit better performance than the Devastate HSW. But overall, the best car to use is the weaponized Ignis HSW. It has fantastic acceleration, a very good top speed, and pretty decent handling as well. The Coil Cyclone 2 has great acceleration and a decent top speed. However, the handling is a little bit, well, not that good, so I would kind of avoid using the Cyclone 2 wherever you can and just use the weaponized Ignis instead. It is just the better car overall. So guys, there you have it. That's it for the fastest car in each class for racing on circuits in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you learned something, a like is of course appreciated, if not dislike. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.